right, under the line, the third and sixth terms of a geometric sequence are 80 and negative 520. Find the explicit form of the sequence. Okay, this can be very tricky type of problem. So you have to be pay very close attention to these next three examples. I'm going to use a particular procedure to find my common ratio. I am given the third and the sixth term. If I were given two terms that were right next to each other, then I could just divide the bigger one by the smaller one. But since I'm not given two terms that are right next to each other, the procedure is going to be a little bit different. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a ratio of the sixth term to the third term. U sub 6 divided by U sub 3. That's a ratio, okay? Well, the sixth term is negative 5,120, and the third term is 80. On the right-hand side of this green equal sign, I am going to write the formula for a geometric form of, hold on one second. All right, and I'm back. I keep getting disrupted. All right, so I'm using the formula for geometric, for explicit form of a geometric sequence. All right, so that formula is U sub 1 times the common ratio of n minus 1. To the power of n minus 1. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to plug in, I know that this is the sixth term and the third term. So I'm going to plug in 6 and 3 for n. So I have U sub 1 times r to the power of 6 minus 1 is 5. And on the bottom, I've got 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, so in a fraction I can cancel common factors, and U sub 1 is a common factor. It cancels right out. Now, r to the fifth divided by r to the second, when you divide things with a common base, you subtract the exponents, so that becomes r cubed. All right, so I'm looking for r, all right? And so now I've got r almost isolated. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, I'm going to simplify this. I have negative 5,120 divided by 80. In the calculator, I've got negative 64. All right, so now if I want to find r, I'm just going to take the cubic root of both sides. So I have the third root of negative 64 gives me r. All right, the third root of negative 64 is negative 4. All right, so I know my common ratio now. Now all I need to know is U sub 1, and then I can write the explicit form of the sequence. I am going to now take the fact that U sub 3 is equal to 80, and I'm going to again use the formula U sub n equals U sub 1 times r to the power of n minus 1, and I am going to plug in U sub 3 equals 80. So 80 is the term. I'm looking for U sub 1. My common ratio is negative 4. This is the third term, so 3 subtract 1 is 2. All right, so negative 4 to the power of 2 is positive 16. So I've got 80 over 16 equals U sub 1. And 80 divided by 16 is 5. have everything that I need to write my formula. So here's my answer. U sub n is equal to 5 times negative 4 to the power of n minus 1. That's the answer. All right, so here's our second example. You're given two terms in a geometric sequence that are not back to back, and we have to write the explicit formula for this. Again, what I want to do is I want to create a ratio of this bigger term number to the smaller term number. So I'm doing a ratio of u sub 5 to u sub 2, which is 3,750 over negative 30. And I'm going to substitute the formula for geometric sequence now. I'm going to do u sub 1 times the common ratio to the power of, now we're taking the term number and subtracting 1. So it is to the power of 4 over u sub 1 times the common ratio to the power of, I've got the second term, so I'm subtracting 1 gives me 1. All right, I'm going to just take this, simplify both sides, and then solve for r. On the left-hand side, 3,750 divided by negative 30 is negative 125. On the right, u sub 1 cancels. I'm dividing r to different exponents, so I'm subtracting those exponents. Becomes r to the power of 3. I'm going to take the cubic root to solve for r. And the cubic root of negative 125 is negative 5. All right, so I know my common ratio. Now I'm going to take the smaller term and solve for u sub 1. So I'm taking this. I'm taking this term, I'm plugging that into the formula for explicit form of a geometric sequence. So I've got the term is negative 30 equals u sub 1 times the common ratio is negative 5 to the power of 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay? So if I were to divide, I can find my u sub 1. So negative 30 divided by negative 5 is 6. Now I know my common ratio and my u sub 1. I can write the formula. U sub n is equal to 6 times negative 5 to the power of n minus 1. We're going to do one more. All right, so here I've got the fourth term and the second term. I'm going to write the ratio of u sub 4 over u sub 2, which is 1/5 over 5. And now I'm going to use the formula for the geometric form, the explicit form of a geometric sequence. That would be u sub 1 times the common ratio to the power of 4 minus 1 is 3 over u sub 1 times the common ratio to the power of 2 minus 1 is 1. On the left-hand side, I've got 1/5 times, I'm doing the reciprocal of 5. When you divide fractions, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So 1/5 times 1/5 is 1 over 25. That's the left-hand side of that equation. The right-hand side of the equation, u sub 1 cancels, subtract the exponents. I have r to the power of 2. To find r, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So I have the square root of 1 over 25, which is equal to 1/5. So my common ratio is 1/5. Now I'm going to plug in my smaller term, my u sub 2 term, into the explicit form of a geometric sequence. So I've got 5 equals u sub 1 times the common ratio. The common ratio is 1/5. Right, to the power of 1, because it's the second term. You subtract 1 from the term number. All right, so now to get u sub 1, I'm going to divide by 1/5. Dividing by 1/5 is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, which is 5. Okay. Now I have everything that I need. U sub n is equal to 25 times 1/5 to the power of n minus 1. That is the formula.